Hey guys, this is Mike from Deepwood Force of Will here, coming at you guys with another episode of our Card Corner series. I know it's been a while since we've done one of these videos, and I do apologize for that. It's been a busy couple of weeks, but I'm back. We're here with another video, and this is actually the first Card Corner that we're doing by request. This was requested by, I believe, Paul Reissman on our last video, and it has to do with this day's card. Card of the day we have here is Severing Winds. Now, Severing Winds is a card that has, of course, been talked about much by the community due to its relevance in most meta decks, the prevalence of green, and the prevalence of playing it in not green because of its effect, which we'll go over right away. So first things first, Severing Winds is a total cost 4 card that uses 2 wind and 2 of any color. It is a chant with quick cast. And its effect reads, if your opponent played 2 or more cards this turn, you may pay 2 wind and 2 less to play this card, basically reducing its cost to 0, and the effect is simply cancel target spell. Now again, that doesn't specify what type of spell, and we'll go over that when we go over these cards' basics. And again, this was one of the big cards that was released from Echoes of the New World, one of the first super rare chants that we saw in the game, so definitely a couple of cool things going on here. But what does the card do? What are the basics here? So of course, as I mentioned before, we've got that total cost of 4, but then of course, if your opponent plays a card and then plays another card, once they play that second card, you can pay 0 to cancel it. Again, quick cast speed, which means you can use it on your opponent's turn. Of course, it's a cancel spell. If a cancel spell didn't have quick cast speed, it would not work. Something really important to note about this card is that it's actually one of the cards that made combo decks almost completely ineffective at the time of its release. One of the big decks we saw was the Feith Sing Gwyber Turbo deck that constantly tried to pump out 12/12 flyers by playing a bunch of cards and then getting a bunch of elves on the board. With Severing Winds, you were able to cancel any of the big resonators that came into play, cancel the Gwybers, cancel Titanias, and it was just a really, really powerful card in that era, and it continued that popularity because people still like to play combo decks, people still like to bring out big stuff, people like to play 1 card a turn even though their opponent has 4 floating will open. So the card just is very, very, very versatile, very good at what it does, and one of the big things that you'll see about this card, as I mentioned in the last little bullet point there, is that it actually punishes bad ordering. So, say your opponent has an important card they want to play, but also they have a less important card that they want to play, and they want to do it in the same turn, not trying to really think about Severing Winds. If they play that bad card first and then their good card, they lose so much tempo off that Severing Winds rather than playing the good card and then the less good card from there. So Severing Winds, while very powerful and very important in a lot of matchups like that, most of the time you're really just going to have to think through your plays when you know your opponent is playing this card. And a lot of the time, because of how prevalent green decks are in the metagame, how prevalent this card tends to be, knowing that this card exists and knowing to play around it is always a good idea. Now, what does this card work well with? Well, the first thing, of course, is other cancel spells. Unfortunately, that is one of the big things there. We see Vanish to the left there, which just says cancel target spell. If you use Vanish on the first spell that they play and they try to play something else, you can still pay 0 to negate that next card and cancel it. This actually becomes very relevant with the card Otherworld Dreams, which was actually just revealed. At the time of this video, Advent of the Demon King has not been released yet, but a lot of people are talking about the synergy between Otherworld Dreams and Severing Winds, how Otherworld Dreams will cancel a spell and then your opponent can play something else without paying its cost. Well, when they play that other card without paying its cost, you can play Severing Winds without paying its cost, because that's the second card they've played this turn. So, unfortunately, we do get very, very tight synergies there, basically 1-for-1ing your opponent with 2 cancel spells for the cost of 1 green will. That's very, very potent, and unfortunately we're probably going to see a lot of green cancel decks and a lot of green control decks coming into play, and a lot of people might get frustrated. So here's hoping that people will either wise up to the strategies and try other strategies to try and counter this, or maybe people won't make Otherworld Dreams that popular. Maybe they'll change any rulings, but at the time of this video, this is definitely a very, very strong combination. And then, of course, the last card we have here, just Zero is kind of a placeholder for essentially any stun cards, any cards that place a limiter on your opponent. Zero, of course, making your opponent's resonators lose their keywords, preventing damage. And then once you have that set up, having Severing Winds in your pocket to just cancel anything that they're trying to use to clear that big stun card definitely helps out a lot. And we see Severing Winds used in a lot of decks like that you like to use Zero, decks that like to use Abdul, the new Zero, the King's Blade. Just a lot of stun factors tend to love having Severing Winds to kind of pick and choose what your opponent can actually do to come back from that stun factor. Now, you're saying to yourself, Mike, this card seems fantastic, this card seems amazing, it's a zero cost cancel, it synergizes with crazy things. How do we stop this? First weaknesses we'll see here. On the left here we have the Floating Island, which was actually just revealed about a couple of days before I made this video. It is a 3-cost edition with Quick Cast, the first edition to ever have Quick Cast, that makes it so that each player can only play 1 card per turn. Now, Severing Winds, of course, is at its strongest when your opponent's trying to double up on cards, trying to torrent out things, trying to make more plays happen in a turn. While Floating Island is on the field, Severing Winds will never be anything less than a 4-cost cancel. So having the ability to just kind of cancel something out, having the ability to make your opponent unable to Severing Winds comfortably, the Floating Island does that very, very well. Next thing on the list is cards that have cards come into play without being played. If that makes sense, if that sounds like it makes sense. The Nine-Tailed Fox is such a great example of this because it itself comes into play by Judgmenting, which doesn't actually play a card, you can't cancel a judgment, and the ability to summon a Chimera from outside of the game is also not a spell that's being played, so your opponent cannot cancel either of those factors. Nine-Tailed Fox is almost completely immune from the card Severing Winds, so knowing that, definitely keep an eye on that. And then the last card we have here is just something I wanted to highlight, with the fact that Alhamad's Black Knight Lightning literally says this card cannot be cancelled, so your opponent can never Severing Winds that. But those are basically 3 really, really, I think, in my opinion, the biggest examples of what cards really just shut down Severing Winds. Obviously there are other examples that I haven't mentioned here. J-Rulers in general are just fantastic against Severing Winds, and if we see a metagame where we have a lot of cancels in the game, a lot of Otherworld Dreams into Severing Winds, into Vanish, just like a whole breakdown of that, having the ability to just have J-Rulers and have a very, very big body that cannot be cancelled is going to be an incredibly, really, really good factor going forward. And with that being said, that's pretty much everything there. I forgot I made this. This was not a funny picture, but again, Severing Winds is just a very, very powerful card. Card that we will continue to see a lot of until it rotates out next September. So, I got another 10 months to deal with this thing. Might as well know how to play against it, what you'll expect when you're going against it, and if you guys have seen the previous episode 1 of the Card Corner, again, this video has the exact same formatting as that video. If you guys like this formatting, let me know. If you think I need to change anything up, if you have any suggestions, feel free to let me know. But in the meantime, enjoy your cancel spells, stock up on your Severing Winds, because I don't expect to see any less of them in the future. And with that being said, have a great day, guys. Take care.